shite doll.
What do you mean?
Look like you're wearing a shite doll.
I'm growing out my hair.
Yeah, but like, don't grow it out with the middle part.
No,
It's
I mean,
not.
it just falls the way it falls now.
Yeah, but avoid a middle part.
Here we are, and welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcasts. My sisters are just huffing and puffing at me today. Huffing and puffing at my intro. But I'm still happy to see them because, haven't seen them in person in a while. Haven't seen Becky since January. Haven't seen Lily since the previous decade. So it's been a while, but I love talking to you guys. Becky, how you doing?
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that one.
It's literally how we begin the show
it's
every
like
time.
2.5 years.
And
All
Becky
coming on 3 years.
always seems surprised. Always seems
She's like,
surprised.
I'm on a podcast.
Okay, I'll tell you how I am. I moved my desk setup.
You
so
look great.
now
The setup
I
is
have some good
These are
lighting.
the exciting things of like life in a pandemic. I moved
Yeah.
my desk.
I moved my desk. We rearranged some furniture. So now you can see my face as we Zoom this podcast.
You look fantastic.
I got an extra hour of sleep today too, and then I made waffles. So I'm really feeling myself today.
As you should, as you should. Lily, how are you doing?
I'm all right. Good. I decided to do construction on my apartment during a time of a pandemic and with my parents living with me. So let you do the math.
So you brought this on yourself?
Yep.
Okay. Lily was worried she wouldn't have all the attention. So
I was worried there wouldn't be enough stress. So I decided to have mom and dad move in with me and do construction. But other than that, all good. And can't complain out here in the beautiful place that I live. So everything's good.
One of the things that we're doing during this period.
How are you?
How are you, Shy?
Oh, now you want to know
how you are.
I'm
You
feeling
left
good.
a pause. There was a pause.
Yeah, there was an awkward pause. Like you were waiting for, like you left the opening. So tell us how you are. I like your hat that you're wearing. I know people can't see your hat, but I like your hat.
I'm wearing my Voyage to the Stars hat from the last time I saw you, Becky, was when we went to SF Sketchfest and we saw the taping of the Voyage to the Stars and hung out with Jana Varney. And I love this hat. This is a really well-made hat. It does make me want to make Friday night movie hats that are this nice. I have to figure out how to do it though. I might just message them. I might just message the people who run their podcast and say, how can I make this?
So I feel like if we're gonna make swag, we got to make it that nice.
Yeah, exactly. It was an expensive hat, but it's an embroidered patch and I love it. Well, so in this period, I mean, we act like in this period of quarantine we'd be we're watching a lot of movies. Truth be told, I don't really feel like I'm watching much more than I was already watching because I watch a lot of TV. And one of the services we provide with this podcast is we watch this new stuff that comes out on the streaming services.
Let's be clear. We don't watch it right away when it comes out. We watch it in like relatively the first few months.
We give you time to have either watched it yourself or you're at the point where you're like, what do I watch?
What do I watch? Right. I think we're doing people a service.
And so we have gotten around.
There's not that much new content. We don't want to rush.
Exactly. We'll be doing Cheers next week. We watched Palm Springs starring Andy Samberg and J.K. Simmons and a bunch of people who I felt like I recognized, but I didn't
feel
know
like
who
you
they
should
are.
name the second lead, which is the woman.
The woman. Let me get her name.
It was like a very much Friday Night Movie watching time.
Kristen Milioti.
I was not allowed to look at my phone except to take notes for the show during this, so I wasn't able to look at IMDb. And so
Kristen Milioti, which I don't think she's been anything unless you've seen Modern Love.
Where do I know her from?
She was in that episode of Modern Love with the baby.
She's been in stuff. You've seen her in stuff, and you're like, okay.
Well,
right. She's in that great episode with the doorman.
With the doorman, yeah.
That's a good one.
And then apparently she's in Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet. What's his name? From Rob.
You made that up. That's not a title of something.
How do you pronounce his last name, Shari? Rob McElhenney.
Rob
I'm making him sound Moroccan, but he's Irish.
Oh, from the guy from Always Sunny. Oh, but it's an Apple Plus show. I pretty much will never watch an Apple Plus TV show. that is
right, but I'm saying so unless you watch that or you've seen that episode of Modern Love, I don't think you've maybe seen her. Is what I'm telling you.
In any event, I did not. This is great. What I love about these Netflix movies is that for the most part, I don't read the description.
It's Hulu.
Hulu. Sorry, this was a Hulu movie. It's because Lily thought it was Netflix, so I went looking for it on Netflix.
I did.
Becky did? Someone thought it was on Netflix. Anyways, I saw it on Hulu, and I think Hulu's originals so far, the ones I've seen, are slightly better than Amazon and Hulu's originals are fewer, but they're slightly better in quality. But in general, they're these direct-to-video indie movie type things. I don't even read the descriptions of these because I'd rather not know. And since I'm not really like paying individual money for it, and it's 90 minutes, I'm pretty much willing to watch anything that's 90 minutes long.
Agreed. Agreed.
I think that's fair.
Longer than that, I need to know what I'm getting into. But this one, we started the movie, and Allie's like, "Do you know anything about this movie?" I said, "Nope. We're just watching this movie."
But it has a lot of things going for it. Fun. Andy Samberg.
That's true. Andy Samberg.
And 90 minutes.
Yeah, Andy Samberg, 90 minutes. You're right. What am I not going to watch that has Andy Samberg?
Yeah, right. And it's on a streaming service you already pay for. Like, give me a break. Right. We're in a pandemic. You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean,
what else do you want?
Let's start with that as the baseline.
That's kind of how I feel. My general reaction to this movie was, well, the bar is pretty low for these streaming service released movies, and I enjoyed this a lot, and I thought it was fun and cute. And
does someone want to give a synopsis of it?
Well, okay, so
you don't want to do
about. We have to in order to talk about it. I'll quickly give a synopsis. It's about a guy who is stuck in a time loop, kind of like a Groundhog Day thing. In fact, it was odd almost that they didn't reference Groundhog Day once in the script. But he's in a Groundhog Day situation where he is stuck in a quantum...
Well, I think they do, but we can get back to it.
So, anyways, and it's the day of his girlfriend's friend's wedding, and he's been reliving it, but you don't realize it right away until this other woman who's a character in the movie falls into the cave time loop thing, because this is a little more sci-fi to it, that drops her into the loop along with him and one other person, and the three of them are trying to get out of it or suffering in it at different times depending, and learning about themselves in the process. And that's it. I mean, all you really need to say is Andy Samberg is stuck in a time loop in Palm Springs at this hotel with a couple other people.
Right.
And it's a love story.
Exactly.
Which if you had told me, if I had read that, I would have been like, ugh, why am I watching this Groundhog movie? But I liked it.
Shai, at the top of your little response of your reaction to it, you said
of his reaction. I'm going to say, are you trying to say his notes?
No, of his reaction, you said it's a cute little indie type movie. Now here is where I want to dig in a little bit as far as my reaction goes. I agree, it was great, perfect, what we would call for me a renter.
Be heated.
No, because I brought this up last week when I talked about Old Guard.
Which, by the way, Tio Mario has texted me not once but 4 times to tell me that I have to watch. So I will watch that movie.
Oh, Tio Mario loved that movie for sure.
So remember how I talked about within the confines of the Netflix streaming services, we have to imagine a new star system that matched up against actual blockbusters doesn't line up. We need to give them their own special one, because I feel like the stories aren't going to be as good. The storytelling isn't going to be as interesting. We discussed that. So if we look at this as an indie movie in that classic way that we're familiar with it, offbeat, kind of strange, like an early Wes Anderson kind of movie, or some of the darker ones that Lily and I have loved over the years, I'm thinking about like, for me, and these movies are really old, but like Ghost World or The Good Girl, like these great indie movies, I could put this in a category like that. Except that it's now the streaming version of that, which
Okay, I see your point.
which I feel like means that there are certain elements that would have it be more memorable or stand out at a higher bar that are and I imagine they're not even missing. I feel like they were taken out by the producers at the streaming service. Because I bet you anything that original script was darker and more perverse, more biting, a lot funnier, and it was like scary in like an uncomfortable way.
Did you guys watch Andover? Did you guys watch Andover?
Oh, no, you recommended that one. Yeah, no,
watch
I wanted
Andover,
to see that.
because Andover is one of the movies I compared this to, but Andover is a lot darker. It's
okay. I need to see
Andover
it.
is a lot darker. Now that one's about cloning, but like you might like Andover more because Andover doesn't pull punches, and even though it is kind of a quirky love story at times, it shows you the dark side of this kind of like playing with reality.
Okay. And I think that is what makes a story or a structure like this memorable. You either have to go really funny, slapstick, absurd, and really make it comedic, but if you're going to play with the dark stuff, like the idea of death within a time loop or murder or suicide, like any of that stuff, you got to push it. You got to really push that boundary, because there's a few moments where you see a glimmer of how they could really be digging at something and scratching at something, as in to get more of a reaction out of an audience. And then it's held, like they really pull back on it and they're like, well, we'll just kind of keep it like lukewarm, not like laugh out loud funny, more just like pleasantly enjoyable, and not like too dark to make people uncomfortable, but just enough to make you go, oh, that's funny. And that's where I have a problem with it. I enjoyed it as a renter. I thought it was great. I totally would recommend it to people, but it's not memorable. I'm not having any sort of greater reaction to it. And I think with a little indie movie like this, with a structure like this, you can push the boundaries a lot further. That's what it's there for, almost. I mean, for me, that's the experience I want out of it. And I think that more has to do with the fact that it was made for a streaming service than if it was truly made independently. Because there's no way the person that wrote this and the director, and you look at how it's directed and you look at actors that signed on for it, that they signed up to do something that was kind of like
this unoriginal.
Not even unoriginal is the issue. That didn't bother me so much because I still think it's really well made.
It's a Lonely Island movie, though.
Right.
Well, that just means that he helped produce it, but no.
Fair.
I feel like my instinct is that it was probably meant to be a lot darker, sharper, funny in a perverse way, and it all
and they
got
rom-commed it up.
And they stripped it out because of the fear of messaging or bad reactions.
Like the algorithm people took over and they were like, no, they're coming to see Andy Samberg.
That's my instinct, which reminds me of kind of like studio films versus like indie films. If you think about like in the 90s and, this heyday of like great indie films versus what you're seeing in studio films. It's just what it makes me. That was my reaction.
That is fascinating. Okay. Well, Lily, what was your reaction? Because I didn't get that deep into it, and in fact, I thought I was like, "Ooh, this got darker than I expected based on the way it started." But when you compare it to something like Groundhog Day, which we watched with our kids, and our kids got really disturbed by all of the like death in it, and we were like, "No, it's funny, it's dark humor
because it restarts."
And it's about him. And anyways, it's a little bit of a lighter movie by comparison. So, anyways,
I thought, I think that like I didn't read about it either, Shay. So I just read that it was something about like a wedding in Palm Springs and something surreal happens. So I knew it wasn't going to be straightforward. But I had no idea about the loop and everything. I actually thought it was, I mean, this sounds like a terrible way to say this, but I thought it was good enough. Like I enjoyed watching it. It was short. I didn't expect it. I think if I had gone to a theater or I had expected, knowing the production company behind it, which I don't expect like a very sharp, deep film, I guess, from Lonely Island people, even though they're really brilliant and fun. But I would say that I thought it was funny. I mean, I had some laugh out loud moments. I thought it was funny, and I enjoyed that. Okay, so Groundhog Day is all. I mean, you only need Bill Murray in that movie, right? Like he holds the whole movie. I enjoyed a lot that you have somebody is pretty big hitting. I mean, Samberg's no Bill Murray, obviously, but you still have, to us, Samberg is a big, important, comedian. And you have him with his counterpart in the film, the actress that plays, it's Christine Milioti or something like that. And she, I thought she was fantastic. And so I loved them together. And I liked that he shared his like screen with her throughout the whole movie. And I thought they were really funny together. Then the like popping up of J.K. Simmons, he's always welcome. I was like, you're a joy. And even June Squibb was in it.
That was June Squibb, right?
Yeah, it was
June
June
Squibb,
she just had like that one
by
moment.
her. And I'm sorry, eyebrows, Peter Gallagher, when he does a scene of all the people he slept with.
Veronica.
Yeah, and Camila
Riverdale.
Mendez from Riverdale.
Yeah.
Mom was like, God damn, that girl's pretty. I was like, yeah, she's on Riverdale. And so, and the girl that played Misty was hilarious. I thought it was actually really funny enough for one of these streaming services to like that puts out a movie. Obviously, all of these streaming services do better with comedies, but I thought it went. I didn't expect it needed to go very much deeper. I see what you're saying, Beck, and I would have loved to like have it be more meaty. But I like that it wasn't. They make a thing. I don't know if this is their reference to Groundhog Day, and maybe they didn't want to mention Groundhog Day, but they, for whatever reason. But clearly, they strike out the fact that it's not about karma. It's not about being a better person.
Right. It's
better.
not.
Right. Yeah.
They make that very clear, and they're like, okay, this isn't Groundhog Day. And in the end, it was literally a metaphysical, like, or whatever,
quantum physics kind
problem.
of issue. But there was an emotional, moral thing about being afraid to move on from that day. And I do think so. The part for me that I thought was deep and was powerful was the part where he said the pain is real.
That's great.
Sitting on the side of the road.
Saying, but here's okay, and here's my problem with movies right now, is that they're telling us everything and they're not showing us. And if I wanted to hear things, I would just listen to a book on tape. But I'm watching a movie. Visually show me that. It is a visual medium. Stop telling me everything. You can reinforce it with some interesting dialogue, but let me see. Like, that's what I'm saying, that if that's the message, that the physical pain is real and that you have to live with the choices you've made, even if everybody else doesn't have to, then that's what the film should be showing me.
And so it doesn't. It's lying on
and
that.
So and that's what I'm saying is that, right, I just feel like these streaming services, whoever's in charge of making these movies, they don't know. They've never taken a film 101 class to understand the basic philosophy behind visual storytelling.
I hope the people who made this movie don't hear you say that, because maybe
not the people who made this movie. I was like, because then I want to separate it. If you really look at it, I actually think within what they were creating, the directing is really strong. I do like the way it's shot. I do like the way it's acted. I think if you actually dug a little bit deeper into the visual choices that were made, they're really great. I think the acting is really great. It's appropriate.
I'll be devil's advocate and say that the people that made this movie made Never Stop Stopping, like Pop Star. This is a comedy group, and so
but they're not the ones who wrote it or directed it.
One of the things that
they produced it.
So
but a lot of it is in the directing.
So let's talk about comparing it to things, because one of the things that I didn't write in my notes that I compared it to, but it gave me a real sense of the vibe of, was Lodge 49, which is a really cool film.
Yeah, for sure. It had a lodge.
And Andy Ciara, the writer, was a writer on Lodge 49. So
there you go.
So here's some of the other things that I compared it to. Now tell me, I'm going to give you Palm Springs and the other movie, and you tell me which one you liked more, okay? And why. So it's like an either or type thing. Groundhog Day, Palm Springs.
Groundhog Day.
Right. And Groundhog Day, because Bill
Uh,
Murray, because it's kind
it's
of
not even Bill
defined
Murray.
the genre.
It's what you talk about. Like, I just think the comedy in Groundhog Day is it's almost like so
subtler.
perfect. It will last forever. You can go back to that movie, and the way that the comedy is built, the repetitiveness of it, and then the playing on that repetitiveness, I think is like extraordinary.
So much so that
level.
like they made an epic Super Bowl commercial about it.
Right.
How
And
many years later,
when you
we're still
refer to
laughing.
this movie, you'd say, oh, it's Groundhog Day in a hotel in the desert, right? Like that's the easiest way to
Right.
describe it.
Yeah.
Andover, which only I saw, and I'll give Andover the edge because Andover, now that I've heard what Becky said, Andover goes to a very dark place. It kind of pulls out of it in the end, but it is much more about the consequences of playing with this sort of like godlike experience and what that would do to you. Click with, and now the next one is Click with Adam Sandler. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah, but I didn't
Magic
see
remote. This is better than Click.
This is better than Click. I can say that.
Here's another one that this reminded me of. Safety Not Guaranteed. This is a Duplass.
I love
Safety
that.
Not Guaranteed is better.
See, I like this more than Safety Not Guaranteed.
Safety Not Guaranteed is a bit weird. It's offbeat. It's not linear.
I didn't mind it was
it's leaning into something that's sad and strange, which makes it very memorable.
Sure. I see Becky's point there. Like Becky's point there, it's funny is that I think you're right. Probably objective.
And also, I don't think just because it's Lonely Island, it somehow gives it an edge. I think, in fact, because it's Lonely Island, you're expecting something very funny, very comedic, and it's not funny the way their other stuff is, which is okay. They don't have to make it like their other stuff, but it's
exactly
not
what I'm saying.
That funny. Like it's not.
I thought it was pretty funny.
It's cute. And that's okay. I don't think everything has to be everything they make has to be that type of comedy. Wait, Sean, do you have more?
Were you watching with Mom? Yeah. We're gonna play more. This is a new game. I don't know what it's called though.
I was, but I laughed on my own. I thought that their chemistry was fantastic.
They did have great chemistry. I like that.
So this is a show. So this isn't exactly fair, but The Good Place or Palm Springs.
No, that's not fair. I digress.
Oh, but you know, it would be a good comparison. The living with myself.
Oh, I don't think I've had.
Which is the Paul
Living
Rudd
with Myself is better. That's brilliant. That to me is like a brilliant.
Again, it has. I think because
that's not a movie, so I'm not sure that's fair. But Living with Myself is excellent.
But my point about bringing these in isn't just the movie. It's the genre. Okay, so how about this one? Eliza Sherman's Revenge and Palm Springs.
I like this better.
I like Eliza Sherman like much. Because it is so
both,
funny. See that one really and they repeat a bunch of different things. That one's funny and it's kind of mean, and
I guess you're
a little bit faster.
I think it's
a tie.
No, but I think what's hard there is one of the things that stood out to me about Palm Springs, as much as I'm giving it a hard time, is the production quality and the attention and care that was put into the stylizing of this world. And I understand something with Eliza Sherman's Revenge. I obviously don't have a big budget. So if you look at the script,
you can't get that shot of the
and
pool
those choices, you're going to get some great choices there. But I do think that the production design and the directing of this, the creation of this world is actually really important to making a film like this work. And it was really well done.
They did. I mean, I don't know
what in Groundhog's Day. If you look at Groundhog's Day, you have to create a really, really tight.
Yeah. Whereas Eliza Sherman, they're not repeating the same day. They just can't leave.
No. They do time repeats multiple times.
They start back at the beginning, but it's not like every time they fall asleep it restarts.
That's true. Well, again, I'm talking about
which requires
of each other.
But I'm saying in terms of the style, Palm Springs works well, I think, because just like Groundhog Day, if you're going to do a thing where it starts over again every time the person falls asleep.
I feel really badly about that comment that I said about they haven't gone to a basic filmmaking class. Again, it's weird. I strangely don't, because I'm looking at it a bigger picture. I don't think it's the fault of the writer or the director or Andy Samberg and Lonely Island. I actually look at streaming services as a whole, and I'm thinking of it more as the greater body of work that they're putting out, where I'm seeing the same mistake repeated
It
over
seems
and
like
over
you're
and
throwing
over
it more
again.
at the company and not like
yeah, well, it's like I'm imagining like the studio, like the Hulu studio, the Netflix studio, and I feel like I'm seeing the same mistake repeated over and over again.
Becky,
and
you know what's funny?
The pattern leads me to believe that they're like, you know, yeah.
That I think I think makes sense, Beck. Like that, like ultimately they, you know, I'm not saying studio interference in the movie is good all the time, right. But like,
a line like you have to live with the pain you cause. That line doesn't mean anything unless I've experienced it with him. And you don't experience that very much with him other than a quick torture montage. So that's my biggest problem with movies. That's probably like the most important line in the whole film. But I haven't gone through it really. Because by the time you start, he's already jaded.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's a good point. All right, so here's another one. Edge of Tomorrow, also known as Live, Die, Repeat, The Edge of Tomorrow, or Live, Die, Repeat, depending on where it was marketed.
As I was going to bed last night because of this movie. I was thinking about
excellent.
That movie is excellent.
I have to go with that movie. I love that movie.
It's an excellent.
That's one of those movies that people say is like really one of the best sci-fi movies of the last however many years.
It's fantastic. Emily Blunt,
I like that movie, but there's so much repeating in it that I have not seen it again since.
Right. And I'm good with the live and the die.
And so I'm going to make a bold comment here that I came away from this with. Okay, bold. I don't know if prediction is the right word.
You like it a little bit more because the poster's so nice? I love the poster for this movie.
No, the poster just seemed like an episode of Lodge 49.
I love the poster.
I came away from this thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. Is Andy Samberg becoming Tom Hanksian? If you look at,
I know I mentioned.
Wait, what are we looking
if you look at where Tom Hanks started, like what he started with, Bosom Buddy. Okay, so let's look at Tom Hanks's early movies. Okay,
I just got so excited at that thought
because I think that Andy Samberg is one thing. So there are things that I think that are great about this movie, and one of them is I think Andy Samberg's performance and combination of like zany guy. Actually, Joe versus the Volcano is another movie this kind of reminded me of, which I watched recently and I loved. Yeah. Okay, so his early stuff, Bosom Buddies. He appeared on Happy Days, Splash, Bachelor Party, Volunteers, The Money Pit. You don't see any of those movies really and think, oh, Tom Hanks is going to be the
biggest star.
The biggest star, or what I think is what, again, I'm not saying Andy Samberg is going to win 2 Oscars, but what I'm saying is that Tom Hanks has a way of being someone that you connect to and that you feel like there's an everymanness to the way he acts that is awesome, but he has a zany side, like a really zany comedy side. When you think of that scene in The Money Pit when he's falling through the construction site and like all those slapstick things are happening. I don't know if you remember it. I watched it with Mom when I was little, and I remember her cackling so hard. Mm-hmm. Turner and Hooch. I mean, Tom Hanks was in a movie with a slobbery dog.
I'm loving this idea that like Andy Samberg could step into that, and we could always have a Tom Hanks in our life.
Exactly, and then the other person who is Tom Hanks to me is Paul Rudd, but. The difference between the two is I don't know how much Paul Rudd is writing, directing, and creating, but Andy Samberg has been creating. He's been on the creative side for every moment of his career. Yeah. And so there is a side of me in this movie where I said, wow, I'm ready to see Andy Samberg do more than be like a lovable buffoon in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And that is something I hope to see more of because, again, there's something Tom Hanksian about him.
And I have to say, he'd have to like finally leave TV. I think he'd have to like move into film because this is one of his few movies that he stars in. If you look at his filmography, he's in
That's My Boy with Adam Sandler.
Right. Like he's not in a lot of movies and he does tons of TV and like, obviously he was on SNL forever. So I think he'd have to really make the jump, but I just don't know if he wants to nor is capable of the serious side of the Tom Hanks roles. I also worry that he might like look too Jewish to be able to pull it off.
Well,
love
that's
it.
that.
I
We
I
can
love
bring that
it.
in with Jonathan
Right,
Brandtman.
talk
I
about
know.
Jonathan Brandtman.
Whereas Paul
love
Rudd,
it.
like one of my favorite lines from Between Two Ferns with Galifianakis is when he turns to Paul Rudd. He's like, "So how do you hide your Jewishness so
Right.
successfully?"
Which by the way,
Which is such a
funny,
great loaded line.
is funny, but like also is like an extremely dark comment, right? Like
Totally,
because
100%. It's like
Which
serious.
I love that movie. And by the way, Andrew
What
of Andrew
movie?
and Baxter is in that movie. He's
and
the
so
camera
is
guy.
movie?
so is
The Between
Lauren.
Two Ferns movie.
So is
that line's not from the movie.
Lapkus.
It's just from
Yeah.
an interview with Paul
what's her
Rudd.
And I
first
love it. I
name?
watched it like twice in a row. Oh, my gang is back. Hold on, we're gonna get some noise.
Lapkus,
You're gonna have to mute.
Lauren Lapkus, Lauren Lapkus, who was also in the Bajillion Dollar Properties episode with the 4 women that Victoria becomes best friends with in order to sell the,
That episode
house.
is fantastic.
She's so funny. Well,
I think there's a lot of questions about Samberg, and wonder like, but I think definitely on the comedy, the Tom Hanks like lovable comedy side, I think he could absolutely be. I will just say I think we could use more of a presence in film with him in movies.
He did that movie about the 2 people breaking up that I did not want to watch.
Yeah, Celeste and
Jesse Forever or something like that.
Forever.
That's with
okay.
what's her name?
Rashida Jones.
Rashida Jones. I feel like I should see that because I love Rashida Jones and him so much.
I love both of them, but I'm not in the
alright.
mood to invest in a really long romantic
I
comedy.
saw it.
The lesson
It's
is
okay.
they don't stay together.
It's not a comedy.
Yeah, exactly. So in that sense, like he needs his Sleepless in Seattle or his Clueless. Like if he has one of those movies where he's just irresistible, or
I think
Fox
it's more
Books.
Sleepless in Seattle.
You've Got Mail. If he gets his You've Got Mail, I feel like
You've Got Mail so much.
he's really got some opportunity here. Okay. Well, I think we've done a more in-depth job. It was worth the wait, people, because I don't know if anyone has talked as much about this movie yet. Why don't we talk about what we've been watching? Lily, what are you watching? It seems like what you're watching is also what you're living.
I just have to say, like, is it inevitable that my palate was going to turn to the gutter like you two? Was this an inevitable
It's
thing?
not a gutter palette show.
I will not
It's
watch.
really good.
I almost watched zero reality TV, Lily. So I don't.
I watch
you can say what you will about
no reality TV, but I got to tell you, when there's showendipity, there's showendipity, and when a reality show gets me, I am all in. And I would say Queer Eye is one. The Next in Fashion that Becky got me into, I was like so all in on that. I'll watch a Project Runway every once in a while, but I'm not like a huge reality fan, yet there are the few shows that I have seen that I'm just like, oh my God, I can't stop. Selling Sunset, I don't know if it's embarrassing to say or not. I feel like I should be proud. This show, I can't stop watching. I am fascinated.
Stop.
Like I actually have to stop myself from watching multiple episodes. It's crazy. I've always loved houses and real estate, and I love that kind of stuff, and interior design. But I find myself getting bored with the world's craziest houses on Netflix and best interior
there's
mirrors.
No human drama. Because there's no one disrespecting
Wait, you're watching
anyone.
Those shows, Best Houses on Netflix?
I don't watch that.
On to be but I've turned those on every once in a while to be you know what? I love home decorating. I love interior design. I love interesting houses.
I don't.
I'll watch for the best tiniest houses. I'll watch for 5 minutes.
The
And
best tiniest houses?
That's a show.
My house.
I know.
But then I get bored and I'm like, okay, it's a tiny house. It's really cute.
All I know is every minute you spend watching
this
shows,
show,
you're not watching any of the Avatar shows, and that makes me angry.
Well, this is it's not often that I do it, but this show,
I don't know if your brain can make
oh
that
my
leap
God.
right now from Selling Sunset to Avatar. I feel like you need
Avatar's
a
a big
big
emotional investment.
I'm just saying that I feel like this show gives me a lot of what I maybe need right now. There's some drama. There's insane outfits and stuff that's so ridiculous.
The outfits are probably my favorite part. People dress like this. This can't be how people dress. I also think if I was as rich as these people, what type of clothing I would spend my money on, and it would not be those outfits.
It makes rich people look really dumb.
look really
I have to
bad.
say.
I mean, people do enjoy
Yeah.
shows that watch rich people make rich people look dumb. Though.
Well,
I mean, that
look,
that I
this
have.
one is perfect.
It just makes it
Plus
look like they really
plus
waste
you're
their
learning,
money.
You're learning a lot of stuff about like negotiations.
Like you need to
and
have
business.
a backup offer, and that the first offer is always the best offer.
And what best and final is.
Yeah.
And escrow. One day I'll understand what that is.
I mean, Lily, I will say, Lily. So Lily sometimes writes the notes to our show. Your joke that you put in our notes for the last episode about how this episode is an escrow, whatever that means. Like, I know what escrow is, but that was one of the funniest things I've ever read, so I left it in. Yeah,
I know you don't want to fall out of escrow once you're in it. That's what.
No, that's not how it works.
Is that how it works? How do you fall?
You don't want to fall out. People get really mad when someone's falling out of escrow.
You're out of
escrow.
No. Do you run out of escrow? Is that how
escrow is it like money being held? You don't
fall to buy a property.
Or but if to buy a property, or your mortgage company holds your tax money in escrow during the year, and then they use that to pay the balance.
Don't start telling me you can use escrow as a verb for other things.
No, it's not a verb.
I will be in escrow a lot. I love this.
Are you currently what are you doing? I'm escrowing. My house is
I gotta
escrowing.
Go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go escrow in the bathroom for a little while.
No, while I'm in the bathroom, escrow my lunch.
Exactly. Hold my lunch in escrow.
Hold my lunch in escrow while I go to the bathroom.
See? Anyways, I just
wait. Should we just call the? Should we just call the?
Lily, question. Lily, what was your major in? What did you study?
Cultural studies.
No, and what else? Weren't you in English?
No,
English
but it was Canadian English. Believe me, they spell words with OU instead of O.
It's very proper, very British.
Should we call the new game with this? Which one or the other? Like escrow? Just which one do you put in escrow?
Which one goes in escrow?
Escrow show? I don't know, but
no,
you have to come up with a new name.
But
I feel like
basically, yeah, that's what I'm all in on. I'm watching that, and then I'll switch to when I'm done. Maybe
we could call like the new game like
Black Monday,
like one up, like which one ups the other. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
we'll work on it.
That's like a funny. Okay, we'll think about it. If anyone has an idea as to what we should call that game,
tweet us. Just kidding. I won't write back. Unless you're Jennifer, I'm not
Becky,
replying
I want
to
you
your
to know
tweets.
how many times I tweeted at you this week because there were so many things going on in social
media.
That I
retweeted with a comment.
I know. I'm just telling you. Becky, what are you watching?
Selling Sunset.
Okay, all right. So
and Bajillion. I'm still doing. Actually, I just finished Selling Sunset. I have some Bajillion left.
I'm slowing down.
I'm looking for a rec
because I'm afraid.
I know, me too. I'm looking for a rec. So I'm open to suggestions.
So I'm watching a bunch of things because I'm in a little bit in escrow.
Don't fall out.
We wanted a break between Sinner seasons, so we watched a couple of different things. We watched Love Life, and now we're watching Black Monday. Monday, okay. First of all, amazing performance from Don Cheadle, of course, because he's Don Cheadle. Then Regina Hall, who is the heart of the show, is absolutely fantastic. So you like just to see her, she kind of just owns that show. She's in some ways the audience avatar, although not really. I don't know, whatever. She is the best character and she's amazing in that show. And then Paul Scheer, who we know from like a lot of zany comedies, plays a funny character, but also one that is extremely complex and has like range, and he is so good in this. And so Black Monday, it's about the first season, which we just finished, is all about the lead up to Black Monday in the 80s, the stock market crash in this small stock trading company. So it's a little bit like Billions, and it's a little bit like House of Lies, which is another amazing show, the one with Don Cheadle and Kristen Bell and John Ralphio and Ben Schwartz. That show is a must-watch also. So Black Monday for Allie and me just fits so many things that we like, and we knocked off the first season in a week. It's only half-hour episodes. It's very funny, but it's definitely very dramatic.
What network is it on?
Showtime.
Okay.
So it's a very, very harsh. It's very, very harsh humor, though. Like it is, but it's by the guy David Caspi, who created Happy Endings. So you get a little Casey Wilson in there. You get some of those other really funny actors, and there are some funny jokes in it that sort of remind you of the style of Happy Endings. But it's a very dark show. So Black Monday, I would say, is my biggest recommendation right now for someone who's looking for something fun but interesting to watch. Then on Howie's recommendation, I started Bob's Burgers today, which is a animated show, I guess in the sort of genre of The Simpsons or the Family Guy, although I immediately like it more than The Family Guy because I don't like that show. But Bob's Burgers, Howie told me, and this is such like a bold quality recommendation. Howie said you literally can pick up any episode in any season because it's not like the kind of show where you need to know from the beginning what's happening. So just pick one. So I went to the 5th season because I figure it's been on for like 7 years. I figure between 3rd and 5th, you're getting good quality show. And I picked some random episode of the 3rd season. And the opening bit are the kids of this guy, Bob, who owns the burgers, who makes the burgers, trying to catch farts in a glass and like sell jarred farts and like use them for other occasions and then
Like that's
freeze
something
them
you actually
to
did
make
do as a kid.
fartsicles.
And you
And
were
I-
like, this is the show for me.
Is there a better example of someone like not only just rolling, like I could have picked any, there are 100 episodes of this show and I picked any random one and this is the one that came up. Howie, that is like, I want to go to Vegas with Howie because I immediately love this show. This is amazing. It talked about fartsicles in the first episode. This is awesome. So I like Bob's Burgers already. And it has the voice of Kristen Schaal and it's on Hulu. So it's very watchable. Still watching Bajillion. The kids are now finishing up. They're watching the full Korra, Legend of Korra, for the 3rd time because we in the Blu-rays. It's coming to Netflix though. It is coming to Netflix. So Avatar fans, get ready because the sequel series is coming. It's very different, but it's very good. And they declared that they're like, Dad, we want to watch this whole thing in a week. So this is what we're watching right now. And they were just about finishing it last night. It's amazing. I want to encourage people to watch Dallas and Robo. Dallas and Robo is a show we have been fans of, like ground floor from the beginning when it was on YouTube, but it's being moved to Sci-Fi. And our dear friend Mike Roberts created the show. And so I'm hoping it gets like a second life on Sci-Fi and they order a second series. John Cena and Kat Dennings, like those are big names. I think it would be so cool if that show got another season. And then last but not least, I want to shout out to a new podcast called Finding Favorites with Leah Jones. I know Leah Jones. The premise of the podcast is essentially forget the algorithms that tell you to like things. I'm just going to bring on someone I really like and they're going to talk about something that is their favorite and recommend it to you, and you're going to go with that. And I agree with that whole premise because I think that's something that I really prefer. I would much rather follow a recommendation of someone who I think knows what I'll like or I really like what they like than the Netflix algorithm. And so that's a cool new podcast that people should check out. With that, Becky, where can people follow you?
At Paper BK Princess on Twitter.
And Lily, where can people follow you?
At Chichi, CHICHIK, for Corman Gomez, for not my last name.
Your husband's last name.
Yeah, but not mine. Just borrowing it. It's my stage name. On Twitter and Letterboxd.
And you can follow me at Pancake4Table on Twitter and Instagram. And Letterboxd. And you can follow all of the Friday Night Movie shenanigans at Fry Night Movie on Twitter and Instagram or FridayNightMoviePod.com. What else is there about our show that I feel like people should? I feel like there's something about our show I forgot to mention recently. But anyways, we've got a lot of really fun episodes that have dropped recently. Go check out the interview that I got to do with Netta, the Eurovision winner from 2018, and Steve Greenberg, the head of S-Curve Records. That can't tell you who to facilitate it. That was so much fun. Another thing that's really important about our show is we are supporting the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and the Equal Justice Initiative as part of our solidarity with Black Lives Matter. So I recommend you check out those organizations, learn about them, and if you feel connected to what they're doing to fight racial injustice, donate and support. donate and support them. And I think going on from there, our theme music will kick in. The theme music is by What Does It Eat, of which has a new record out called Sidecar that you can listen to on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere where there is music, there is Sidecar. And it's kind of related to the themes of this show because it's all about 1980s and 90s TV shows and TV characters like Full House and Family Ties, Doogie Howser, there's a lot of Cheers, there's lots of fun Easter eggs in that. And with that, we will dance off into the afternoon. Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye. No, I was talking to Mom last week, and all I could see, the bottom of my screen was the tuft of her like gray bouffant, and then the ceiling.
I just want you to know that I know,
like,
guys, I
Mom.
know you're not here with us, but Jose has taken it upon himself to troll Mom in your absence. He literally just turns to her before and he goes, "Hey, Richard, I really like your hair slicked back."
I mean, it's Richard ass.
And I was just like, oh, Shine Becky would be proud.